Hello and welcome to today's recording where we are going to be discussing how to find absolute value of any rational number. Now before I get started, I want to just define real quick over here that the rational numbers are fractions, decimals, and percents that we've been working with. And you're also looking at whole numbers and integers as well for rational. So something that's also considered rational would be like the number 8. The number 4 is considered rational. 4.2 is considered a rational number. Percents, so like 50%, all of these things are rational. You may or may not have heard the word irrational before, which starts with an IRR. Irrational would be something like pi. Pi, you might remember, is a number that goes on forever and ever and ever, 3.1415, blah, 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 blah. So those numbers that go on forever and ever and ever that are weird and funky, those are irrational. So I just kind of wanted to start out by clarifying what I meant by rational numbers. It's all the fractions and decimals and percents that we've been working with all year, plus now numbers like this. Negative 15 is also an integer. So again, good looking numbers are over here in rational, and all the weird funky ones that go on forever and ever are irrational. Now today's concept is actually extremely easy. And when you guys see these symbols, let me highlight them. When you see these symbols around a number, it's asking how far away is that number from 0. So these symbols represent absolute value. And when you see them around a number, it's simply asking how far away is this number from 0. And we know that 3 is 3 spaces away from 0. We can see it here on the number line. If you guys were to have seen this, if I wanted to know how far away is negative 3 from 0, it's actually the same, because from 0 I would just go back 3 spaces, and we can count it's the same distance away. So negative 3 is actually the same distance away that 3 is. If I want to know how far away is 3 from 0, the symbols around the line, you could straight up just tell me 3 spaces away. If I want to know how far away is positive 3, you would just straight up tell me 3 spaces away. And since these both are the same, I can say that they equal each other. Okay? Now, absolute value also works with decimals. I could ask you, like, how far away is the number 2.5 from 0? And right here, you would come over to 2.5 and tell me, okay, well, that's 2.5 spaces away from 0. So I could ask about decimals in between these lines. I could put a fraction in between these lines. I could say, hey, how far away is 3/4 from 0? And again, 3/4 on the number line would be about here-ish. And so you'd tell me, okay, that's 3/4 of a space away from 0. So that's all we're doing here, okay? Now in the middle of this page in your packet, we've got just a series of true or falses. And I want your eyes to focus on the side that has the absolute value, all right? So in the first one, the side that has the absolute value symbol is right here. So I want to know how far away is 2.1 from 0. And this says that it's 2.1 spaces away. So that is going to be a true statement. This one's true. 2.1 is 2.1 spaces away, and that's what that says. All right, now let's highlight here and see how far away is negative 4 from 0. And that should be 4 spaces. That should equal just a straight up 4. So this one is false. So since the distance is always positive, it doesn't matter if it's to the right or to the left. Distance is just a positive thing. So here, again, because this says negative, it should say positive, which is why this is false. Distance should always be a positive thing. So the answer that it equals should always be a positive number. So this one's not true. All right, now for this one, again, let's focus our attention around those absolute value symbols. And the absolute value here is still on this side. And I want to know how far away is 5 from 0. Well, 5 is 5 spaces away, not a negative 5. So once again, we're going to put false for this one. Now, in our next example, the absolute value symbol is now actually over on this side. Okay, and I want to know how far away is negative 7 from 0. Should be 7 spots. So not negative 7. So we're going to, once again, say that this is false. The reason these are false, y'all, is I want to point out this should have been a positive 4. this should have been a positive 5, and this should have been a positive 7. If it had said 7, then it would have been true. If it had said 5, then it would have been true. And if this had said 4, then that would be how far away negative 4 is from 0. All right, now on the next to last one, you'll notice that actually the absolute value is on both numbers. So this is just asking, is negative 3/4 the same distance away from 0 as 3/4 is? And the answer would be, yeah, it is. So this one's true. I can just copy and paste because I'm on my computer, but you can just write true or false in there. And for the last one, is 1 the same distance away as negative 1? Yup, it's true. That is true as well. So let's just see, this is not in your notes, I'm just going to write up a few random examples. Let's just see if you would get this right or wrong, just kind of on the fly. If this is a true or false statement. Just kind of looking at that, would that be true or false? And you can see that the absolute value is around this side. My highlighter would work. And I want to know how far away is negative 3 from 0, and that should say 3 spaces away, so this one would be false. Again, if I want to know how far away is negative 3 from 0, I'm expecting this to say 3, and that's why this one is false. Okay? All right, let's try another one. What if you saw, you can see that my computer's going a little slow. What if we saw the absolute value, here it goes. All right, is this true or false? And once again, because I care about inside the symbol, I want to know how far away is 4.2 from 0, negative 4.2 from 0, and it is 4.2 spaces away. So for this one, we would put true. This one is going to be a true statement, okay? Because again, the thing inside these lines is 4.2 spaces away, and that's what that says, so that's true. All right, now I'm back in your notes with you guys, and we have just a quick question here that says, which of the 2 points below have the same absolute value? So if I look at point A, for example, it's 5 spaces away from 0. B is 4 spaces away from 0. C is 2 spaces away. And again, we're just trying to see how far away is everything from this green line. So if C is 2 spaces away and D is 1 space away, they don't have the same absolute value. This is 3 spaces away. F is 5 spaces away, so that's actually going to be the answer right there because A is 5 away and F is also 5 away. The answer to this one is going to be points A and F. Okay, so A and F have the same absolute value here. A and F. If I wanted you to plot in a point and call it G, and I wanted it to have the same absolute value as E. So here's point E. If I want something to have the same absolute value as point E, you would plot it right here. And I just said that we would call that point G. So those two have the same absolute value because they're both 1, 2, 3 spaces away from 0. All right, cool. And now down here, we have one last question on our page. We're just going to fill in the blank using one of these phrases. So first we have that the absolute value of 20 is blank. So the absolute value of 20 would look like this. And you guys know that 20 is 20 spaces away from 0. So I'm actually going to knock out these first two options. And now let's look at the explanation to see which of these two we think is the explanation to go here. Do we think that the absolute value is 20 because the distance from 0 is 20 spaces? Or do we think it's 20 because absolute value is always whatever number you see? We're going to go with this third option. All right. So 20, and then we're going to say now here, because the distance from 0 is 20 spaces. So go ahead and fill that in. I just typed it in, but you guys can fill it in the blank right here. Okay? Now the reason, I just want to clarify the reason we don't want to pick this last answer here, because what if inside you had a -8? You wouldn't tell me that the absolute value is -8 because the absolute value is always just the number. Nope, nope. So that's why it's not the last one. If the absolute value is, or if I want to know the absolute value of a negative number, you would tell me that it's 8 spaces away, and you can see how it's not always going to be just whatever is inside the symbols here. So even though this was a positive example, and that kind of technically does work to say, okay, whatever I see in here, that's the absolute value, we don't want to pick that for the final answer because it's not always whatever you see in there. That only works if it was a positive number. Like if it was a +2, then its distance away is 2, which now does match the number that's inside, but that doesn't always work, so that's why we're not picking this last one, okay? All right, so the whole point of this entire video is when you see a number not in parentheses, and then you see a number, not parentheses, sorry, I mean absolute value, this is the one you want to focus in on and just say how far away is that from 0. If you see something like this and you want to know if it's true or false, this one would be false because we're expecting this to be a +8. That should say +8, and now it would be true. Thank you for watching this video on absolute value.